Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, I'm beside a box. This is actually really exciting for me because this is actually a canopy for my tractor, and I have been needing one of these for several years. I have been trying to rig up beach umbrellas and all that kind of stuff on my tractor to have a little bit of shade, mainly for mowing hay, because I'm out in the middle of the open field for hours on end, and not having shade over top of you is just, it's brutal on you. That sun beating down on your arms and stuff, and especially on in the past, I've had to go extremely slow with my hay balers and that kind of stuff, and you have no air movement, the heat coming off the tractor, and then no shade. I mean, it's just been brutal. So I ran into a canopy for the tractor at the tractor shop in South Webster, Ohio, and I thought that this was a pretty good price on one. It actually ended up being, I think, a better price than what I thought. I've been looking at them, and I've seen them, range $500–600, and then some of the really nice ones were well over $1,000 and all that kind of stuff. And I seen that he had one advertised on Facebook, so I went over there, I checked it out, and it really was surprising for what's in there. So anyways, let's open this thing up, check it out, I'll show it to you. We're going to install it on the tractor and get some shade on top of our Kubota M6060, and I'm really looking forward to doing this. So it looks like we've got the mounting hardware here. I'm surprised at actually how heavy this thing is, but it's really nice. It looks really well made. I'll get you some closer shots and stuff of it here in just a second. The main part of this thing, it's got some sound dampening stuff in here, and it's got some nice angle iron frame structure to make it really stout. But I'll show you all that structure here in a minute. I just want to leave the plastic on it right now while we're sliding it around and moving it around until we get to the point where we're going to put it on the tractor. Just try to keep from getting it all scratched up. So it looks like we've also got our installation manual. But look at the brackets and stuff for this thing. These are some nice heavy steel brackets. That's some pretty heavy stuff, and I think that's really going to make that top rigid instead of, I thought it was maybe going to be a little bit floppy, but I really think this top's going to be a nice rigid top. So let's get this thing started, see if we can't get this thing installed on the tractor. So this thing comes with a bunch of different brackets and stuff in order to get this thing mounted up. It says in the directions, if your ROPS is 35 inches, you don't have to use the top and bottom bracket. It actually only needs the side brackets that will mount it up to your ROPS. But if the measurement is less than 35 inches or greater than 35 inches, you actually have to use the top and bottom brackets in order to mount this up. So the Kubota M6060 is actually 32 inches, so we're going to have to use all the brackets in order to mount it up. But from the looks of the instructions, it's not going to be a very difficult task. It looks like a whole bunch of nuts and bolts and stuff in there, but it's really not that many whenever you get into it. So let's get on this thing, get this thing installed, and see what it looks like. So let me show you what we've got going on here. What we've done, we've mounted the bottom bracket to the side bracket, and you have to do this in the correct direction for whatever direction your ROPS is leaning. So on this tractor, the ROPS is actually leaning backwards, and you want the round side of the bracket to be on the side of the lean. So where the ROPS is leaning backward, the round side is to the back side. And if your ROPS was leaning forward, obviously that'd be different. You'd have to mount it this way. Or, in this case, if you mounted them up the way I did, you would just spin them around, and that would turn you around because the side bracket actually has to be pointed towards the inside of your ROPS. So it being on this side and the ROPS leaning backwards, the round end is pointing towards the back, and then our top bracket is actually pointing towards the inside. So once again, if you notice, I'm putting the round side towards the back of the ROPS because the ROPS is leaning back. So you put that round side to the back side. Now this part is actually a little bit tricky because I don't have enough hands to hold the U-bolts and the nuts and the washers and all that kind of stuff all at the same time. So this is a little tricky doing this. The directions actually say to mount this to the top and then put this up here and put these brackets on, but I don't see me being able to do that by myself. So what I'm gonna try to do though is once I get this secured up here, then I'm gonna take the canopy and set up here on top and probably have to kind of balance it with my head and then get just a bolt stuck through it in order to be able to stabilize it for it to stay still. And then I'll kind of line everything up and make some minor adjustments and all that kind of stuff that it needs to get it lined up, get it squared, get it leveled, or whatever angle I want the roof to have once I get it on here. Let's try to get this thing on. It's really not a very long process, and it's really not very hard to do. All those nuts and bolts that was in this package have already pretty much disappeared. So another thing that makes this difficult to do is because these pieces are very heavy. So you're trying to hold them up with one hand, plus get your washers and your nuts and everything on there. And it's a little tricky. If I can just get one started, then it's good to go from there. Because then it kind of stabilizes it. So if I let go of it, it'll actually just kind of hang up right there, so we're good. Now, if you notice, these brackets have slots in them, and that's so that you can angle this. In order to adjust the angle on your canopy, you can adjust for that lean that's on the ROPS, for instance. So where that ROPS is leaned back, if you mounted this bracket just straight up and down with the ROPS, then your canopy is going to be angled way up in the air. So it's got these slots in here in order to allow for that adjustment. So I'm trying to get the angle of these two sides pretty close to each other, just for a rough fitment. I'm also trying to get the height of them pretty much the same so that this canopy will sit level side to side. I'm going to tighten these down just enough to make sure I hold that stuff in place good. So whenever I set the weight of that top on there, it's not going to be moving everything. It's time. We're going to get the top. We're going to set it on there. We're going to stick a couple bolts in there. And then we're going to start lining stuff up and making little minor adjustments. And the way we're going to do that, I'll end up probably just taking these loose a little bit and just kind of tapping them a little bit with a hammer with a wooden block or something to keep from marring it up. If I had a helper, this actually would be a lot easier to do because I can have them kind of steady it while I'm up here making adjustments and tightening stuff down. So I was just saying it'd be really good if I had some help in order to put this up there. And Tamara actually just came home and now I have some help. So I'm gonna go ahead and have her help me lift this thing up here and see if we can't get it steadied and at least get it somewhat rough bolted on. So I've got this thing pretty close to where I want it at, but I'm gonna go ahead through and tighten up all these bolts and stuff in here. And as you can see, I've only got like one on this side and it needs to have two. And then this side, which I found out that it seems like it's best to only put one of these bolts in here. So that way you can slide these top brackets out to meet the rail on the roof. That way you can slide them both out. You can mount it to the roof. That's also probably why that they say to go ahead and mount this up on the ground. So we've got a bunch of these bolts we're going to go through and go ahead and snug these down. I've got this thing lined up side to side where I want it at. The only thing I have left to do is actually this side bracket. I'm going to slide this side down just a little bit, and that's not going to be all that tough to do. But if you look through here, you can see that this bracket is just a little bit more clearance than what it has over here on this side. So I'm going to drop that one down just a little bit So I totally understand why that they say to put these top brackets on while you're down on the ground, because there's not a lot of room to really get in here and tighten these bolts up and stuff once you get it on here. So what I did, I actually have a long extension, and I just extended that out, and then I could reach all the way across and then hold this side with a wrench and then hit this side with the impact and get it tightened up that way. So all I've got left to do is actually to level this side to side. So I'm going to take this bracket loose just a little bit, and I'm going to ease it down and try to even it up with this side, and that should get us lined out, and we should be good to go. So guys, like I was saying before, I was really excited about getting this thing installed on my tractor. It actually took me about 2 hours or so to get this on here. Wouldn't have taken nearly that long if I wasn't videoing and I had help the entire time and all that kind of stuff. Because really, this kind of is a two-person job, and I'm not sure if I could have done it by myself. But also in that 2 hours, I also took a break and had a Blizzard from Dairy Queen, so I went ahead and ate that. But all in all, it worked out pretty good. I really am impressed with the quality of this top. I'll tell you, I don't know if the price will change, but I'll tell you what the current price is. The price of this that I paid was $350. I am very impressed for $350. The top on this is a metal top. It's got like a 1/2 inch of sound deadening material on it. Plus it's got an angle iron frame on the bottom side of that roof to really stiffen it up and make it solid. And then like I say, all the brackets are heavy steel. I think the ship weight on this thing was 115 pounds. So if you had those brackets and everything on there, you'd be trying to hold 115 pounds above your head and trying to get all that stuff lined up. It is a fairly heavy roof for your tractor, but I think that translates into heavy built. You know, I've seen some that are like made out of thermoplastic or fiberglass and that kind of stuff, and I just don't know. I don't know their quality. I mean, you know, they're probably just fine, but I kind of do like the idea of having a metal top with a metal frame and metal brackets. Like everything's just metal and good heavy built. The company that makes this is A&I Products, but like I say, I picked mine up at the tractor shop in South Webster, Ohio. I'll put their contact information in the description below, so you can give them a call. I don't know if he ships anywhere, but if you are in the local area, I mean, it may be worth checking that out. I think he does have them in multiple colors like green, orange, red, and diamond plate, I believe is what he had in stock. The availability may be limited on this stuff because, you know, of COVID and all that stuff going on. Seems like everything that is manufactured, whether it's metal or whatever, any kind of metal products, it seems like that they're in shorthand and high demand. I meant to get you some shots of it, of the actual top and all that kind of stuff, and I kind of forgot. So I'll fly my drone over it here in just a second and get you some shots over the roof, and that way you can kind of see the roof line with it and the collar and all that kind of stuff and how it looks. But like I say, overall, I am super impressed with this. Couldn't be happier for the money. Well, thanks for checking out the video today. If you enjoyed this video or found it helpful, make sure to give it a big thumbs up. Also, I'd appreciate it if you'd hit that subscribe button while you're at it. Follow along with us for all the projects and stuff we got going on around the farm. And thanks for watching.